Hey everybody, John Brown here, and today I will be reviewing Cutthroat Caverns. Now this is a game that's basically a card game, but in this game we'll be delving into a dungeon and we will be killing monsters. We'll be doing that semi-cooperatively, in that we all want to kill the monsters because every round we don't, they'll do damage to at least one of us. But the one who actually kills the monster gets all the credit. So we might be doing a thing or two to mess somebody up. So before we get into the technicalities of how the game is played, decided to look at the game as if we enacted it in real life. That might give you an idea of how this game works. Alright guys, this monster's only got 10 health left. And all we gotta do is just take him out. And then we can move on to the next one. So I'm gonna go ahead and attack first. Well, actually, I'm going to attack first. Hey, Mr. Gnome, if you just let me finish this monster, we'll be fine. Well, I think I'm going to finish him off. Well, I say that you're going to miss him. What do you mean? Not only are you going to miss him, but you're going to hit yourself with your own salt shaker? Whatever your weapon is, what are you doing with the salt shaker anyways? Well, Liam, you may have a big sword and you may be winning, but you're going to miss too. What are you doing, Mr. Gnome? We just got to finish this guy off. Huh. Well, I guess Big Boots is going to go finish him off, so all you got to do is do 10 damage to finish this. Well, actually, I'm going to do 5 damage, and I'm going to steal your potion, Liam. What are you guys doing? Well, guess it's my turn. Alright, here we see some of the basic components to Cutthroat Caverns. And in a game of Cutthroat Caverns, we're going to be going through a dungeon. And here we're going to keep track of the number of rounds we've done. Also on the side, there's a number of bonus glory points for the person who defeats the monster in that room. Now, not everything we're going to face is going to be a monster. There are other types of rooms. But in general, if we look at a monster card, there's a whole big stack of them, and we're going to look at them in a little bit. But it shows us, some information about the monster. It shows us how many hit points they're going to have based on the number of players, who they are going to attack, and how many glory points they're going to be worth, and also what type of monster they are. So, basically, if I'm the player who deals the killing blow on this monster, I'm going to get this card and get 4 glory points. So each round, before we go into an encounter, we're going to draw up to 7 cards, and then we're going to go through each round, drawing 1 card at the end of each round. But we could potentially play more than 1 card during a round. So here we have where we track the round and the health, and then we have here where we track the health on our character. And there is player elimination in this game. We can die. Now there are ways to heal. There are ways that we might be able to heal ourselves. We might allow somebody else to heal us, although they are going to get points for it. And we have to allow them to do that, so sometimes there's a balance of, I want to stay alive, but I don't want to give a player any more points. So each round, depending on the number of players, or there are more cards, we can have up to 6 players in the game. The game takes about an hour and a half, usually a little bit longer with more, or if you don't have a lot of experience with it. So we'll shuffle these up and deal these out. And then each player is going to place a set attack card down. Now, amongst our hand of cards, we can have 3 different types of cards. There is a set attack card, where in general these are going to be red cards. You can have blue action cards, and green item cards. Now, there's some variability into what these are all going to do, but in general, each round we're going to put one of these attack cards face down. Each player is going to do this simultaneously, then the first player is going to reveal it. No, but there are things that can affect that. For example, this card can be played in order to stop somebody from even revealing their set attack card. So we won't even get to know what it is. They don't even get to attempt to take that action. There, of course, there are cards that can stop their attack, so on and so forth. And green item cards will be placed out in front of you, and they can be used. Some of them can be used over multiple rounds. Of course, until they're used, they can also be stolen by other players, potentially. Here's the rulebook. It's black and white. It's not very big, but it's not a very complicated game. And it does a pretty good job of laying out. And this is going to be kind of the most important thing. Before each encounter, we're going to see what we're doing. Each player is going to set their set attack cards and then reveal them into an order. And basically, the intricacies of the game come in with how the cards will interact with each other and when we can play them, especially the action cards. If we kill a monster, the player gets the prestige, so on and so forth, and we move on to the next room. It's actually pretty simple. But the interactions of how this massive deck of cards come in are really where the game comes in. So you obviously have quite a bit of strategy in deciding when you want to use your attacks, when you think you can kill someone, when you think other people may or may not have cards that can stop you from attacking. And they'll want to stop you because if they think they can kill the monster instead of you, well then obviously they will want to do so. However, you do have the difficulty of having to kill the monster, because the more rounds you keep the monster around as a team, the more damage everyone's going to take. And if players die too early in the game, then you're going to have difficulty finishing the game. So you want to keep other players alive, but try to score as many points as you can. And here is the stack of guys that come in the base game. Now, not every one of these guys is going to be a monster. Most of them are. Now, these monsters are going to have a picture, what type they are, how much prestige they give, so on and so forth. And then they might all have special abilities. This one causes players to discard a card. It has how much health it'll have depending on the number of players, so the difficulty scales. And also has who the monster is going to attack. It could be the person who did the most damage, maybe the least damage, so there's some strategy there in what you want to do. It could also be a certain number player, like this one says attacks the number 2 player. Well, that isn't the number 2 player that round, it's the person who draws a number 2 initiative for the next round, so you don't actually know who it's going to be in a given round. And there's all different kinds of things with varying values. There are monsters that spawn other little monsters that help out, and all different kinds of cool things like that. As a side note, the artwork varies. There's some really cool stuff, and some, I don't know what. But not every one of these monsters is going to be just something that you go in and fight. You could have something like a trap room where you're going to draw random cards and see what happens. You could have a room that causes you to basically play a little game of memory, so there's some definite variability in these encounter cards. There are tokens for monsters that spawn little extra monsters, and some of them are worth 0 prestige, some of them may individually be worth 1, and they have their own stats. So things like that are a nice little addition to the game. Yeah, this wolf is worth 1, and there are times where the game may ask you to flip a coin, and it even comes with a coin in case you don't have one. So I purposely didn't talk a lot about the mechanisms of this game because they're not really that complicated. Now, if you're interested in the game and you want to see a great explanation of how to play, go ahead and check out Rodney Smith's Watch It Played. He does a few rounds of the game, but also an instructional video. And I'd actually like to thank Rodney for commenting on my 8-Minute Empires Legends video. The truth is, I've been feeling kind of like, I don't know where this channel is going. I don't seem to be getting a lot of attention, but hearing from Rodney Smith, it was a motivation to keep going for a little bit and see what we can do. It's been a while since I've done a video. Life and many things have been getting in the way, and including finance, so I haven't been able to really keep up with some of the new games I would like to be able to purchase. But I decided to keep going, keep showing some older games, and see where it goes. And hopefully, eventually, some of the games I kickstarted and already paid for will be coming in, like Zaya, the drift system, which I'm really looking forward to reviewing. It's not as simple as, say, Munchkin. There is more strategy to it. I mean, I just recently played a game of Munchkin, and my son and my girlfriend's son were both clerics, and drew a Divine Intervention card when they were on 9, so they went together and I lost. I mean, that sort of randomness is a part of this game, but not quite to that extent. Because you are working together, you can't just mess everybody over all the time. Well, you can. In fact, the last time I played this with my son and my girlfriend's son, we were already messing people over like round 1 of the first encounter. Now we eventually calmed things down and tried to get through. But, this is a game similar to Munchkin in that there's a lot of randomness, in that there's a lot of messing people over. Now, you can discard cards after every round to, if you have an unbalanced hand, too many actions, too many attacks, so on and so forth. So that does give the game a little bit of balance. There is some strategy in, how much do you want to stop somebody else from killing the monsters? How early do you want to start messing people over? Do you want to potentially do damage to other players? There's like a fire-breathing potion that can do damage to other players. How early do you want to do that? Do you want is your goal maybe I'm losing, so I want to do whatever I can to maybe kill another player off. Now, there isn't a ton of ways to do damage to other players, but you can manipulate things around to potentially do that if you're losing bad enough. And, you know, there are some ways, you know, to get back in the game if you're behind, like the later rounds being worth more prestige. So, what do I think about the game overall? The components are pretty decent. The cards are decent quality. The player things are decent quality. Some negatives about them, though. There are no player special abilities. You can get some of that in expansions for the game, and this game has a ton of expansions. There are modules you can go through to tell stories. There are tons of new monsters. Just, you know, lots of different things if you want to get into that. So I would have liked some variability in the player abilities, but you can just pick who you think looks cool. The artwork. Some of it's great and some of it's terrible, which is kind of weird. The beads to keep track of health, that, you know, they can easily slide off. There's a bunch of things close to each other. You might lose track of health. They're still cool looking. I mean, they're not terrible. The board to keep track of the monster and things like that is pretty nice. It's pretty thick and solid. Now, some things that I like, definitely, even in the base set, there's a lot of variability in these guys. Now, if you play this game a lot, you'll eventually see the same things over and over again. You can even say, you know, if it's your third time playing, hey, we've seen this guy a couple times already, let's just pick somebody else. I mean, I don't see a problem with doing that, so you can see the different things. With the expansions, obviously, there's quite a bit more variability, but as a base game that isn't too expensive, I think there's a decent amount here, and personally, I really enjoy that idea of kind of going into a dungeon and working with each other, but not trusting anybody. And it's a game that that for me at least is kind of a Munchkin killer. I wasn't the biggest Munchkin fan in the first place, and to me this solves some of the problems of Munchkin. It's a little bit more strategic, but there are definitely some bad things about it. If you hate randomness, you may hate this game. If you don't like that punch each other in the face, you are really not going to like this game, because yes, while it is technically cooperative in that you have to kill the monsters together, you know, to win the game you have to mess each other over. If you have a problem with that, avoid this game at all costs. I did bring this to my other main gaming group, and some people enjoyed it and some people did not. It did not go over well for people who, you know, want a more strategic game and less randomness and things like that. So if you're a person like me that had played Munchkin, enjoyed it for a little while, got tired of it, this game to me is so much better. It can run, just like Munchkin, a little long. It doesn't necessarily have the problem of Munchkin in that, you know, eventually you're going to be able to kill the monster, but with as many rounds as there are, the game does have a sameness to it, so especially if you've got a lot of players and if players are messing each other over, as they should, I feel like this game maybe runs 20 minutes longer than, or half an hour longer than it really needs to, because it isn't that deep of a game. I don't mind a long game if I'm engaged the whole time, and it can drag out a little bit. So really, my recommendations for this game are pretty simple. If you hate randomness, if you hate, you know, if you think player interaction should not just be punching each other in the face, then stay away. If you enjoy that, if you have a group that, you know, likes that, take that mechanic. If you have a group that, you know, likes that, that cutthroat sort of gameplay, then, but you're tired of Munchkin, this is a game I very highly recommend. And, you know, and if it's something you enjoy, there's a lot of other stuff available. But even with the base game, there is a decent amount of things to do. So, very mixed feelings among people I've played this game with, but it's something that I enjoy quite a bit. But hopefully, there'll be another review this weekend. My son and I will hopefully finally get to reviewing Mage Wars, so hopefully you're looking forward to that, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot, and bye.